Welcome to Forbidden Texts. What you are about to see may shock you. It may surprise you, but will definitely challenge everything you thought you knew. Stick around until the end to discover the forbidden knowledge that they don't want you to have.
You've been lied to. You were taught that reality is fixed, that the world around you is solid, and that you are separate from it. But what if I told you that your thoughts, your emotions, your energy are the real blueprint shaping everything you experience? Welcome to Forbidden Texts, where we explore ancient knowledge and forgotten wisdom. There's a reason spiritual alchemy was buried beneath centuries of dogma, mistranslation, and fear. Because if you understood what it truly meant, you'd be dangerous. You'd no longer need permission. You'd stop being a pawn in someone else's game. You'd start becoming the architect of your own reality. Real alchemy isn't about turning lead into gold. That was just code. The true transformation happens inside you. When the dead weight of fear, guilt, and illusion is burned away, something else emerges. Something pure, unbreakable, limitless. And yet, most people stay asleep, numb. They drift through life thinking their energy is insignificant, their presence inconsequential. But deep down, something in you knows better. You've felt it. Those moments when your focus was so clear, your intention so charged, that the world responded. A phone call, a synchronicity, a sudden breakthrough, like reality bent itself to match your state. That wasn't luck. That was the alchemist in you waking up. In the ancient world, those who practiced spiritual alchemy weren't chasing gold. They were chasing the self. They believed the true philosopher's stone wasn't an object, but a state of being, clarity, mastery, alignment. A condition where every cell, every thought, every breath vibrated with purpose. From that place, miracles weren't miracles. They were just normal. But here's the part they never told you. You already have everything you need to start the process. Right now. You don't need robes, or crystals, or ancient scrolls. What you need is a willingness to confront your inner chaos, to step into the fire and come out something new. Because the world doesn't change when you scream at it. It changes when you change. And if you stay with me, you'll see how the forgotten mechanics of spiritual alchemy aren't just mystical poetry. They're a real method to turn raw inner energy into actual results, into a life that feels like yours again. A life that doesn't just happen to you, but one that unfolds from you. This is only the beginning. The real transformation starts when you realize you are the metal, the fire, and the gold. Keep watching. The key you've been looking for is already in your hand. You just haven't turned it yet. Everyone wants to change their life. But most never ask the real question, who is doing the changing? You can read 100 books, go to a dozen retreats, repeat affirmations in the mirror until your voice goes hoarse. But if you don't know the raw material you're working with, you're just rearranging pieces of the same broken puzzle. The ancient alchemists knew better. They weren't just mixing chemicals in smoky labs. They were decoding consciousness. And the first principle they lived by, as above, so below. As within, so without. That wasn't metaphor. It was instruction. Your inner state mirrors your outer world. If your thoughts are fractured, your reality will be too. If you live in constant reaction, your life becomes a loop. But when your mind, your body, and your energy lock into coherence, reality has to respond. And here's the part they never teach. You already are an alchemist. Every time you choose focus over distraction, discipline over impulse, stillness over noise, you're transmuting. You're turning chaos into clarity, fear into presence, lead into gold. But let's be real. You've also sabotaged yourself, chased validation, burned out trying to prove your worth to people who couldn't even see you. We all have. That's part of the process. The real magic doesn't happen when everything feels good. It happens when everything breaks, and you keep going anyway. Because the fire isn't the enemy. It's the forge. In every spiritual tradition, there's a recurring theme: descent before ascent. You don't get to skip the darkness. You go through it. You burn through it. That's why the first step of true alchemy isn't adding more to yourself. It's stripping everything away that isn't real. The masks, the conditioning, the inherited stories that were never yours to carry. When the alchemist stares into the furnace, they're not afraid of the heat. They become the heat. And from that place, reality begins to bend, not because they're manipulating it, but because they've become so aligned that the universe has no choice but to follow. So ask yourself, what are you still holding on to that can't survive the fire? Because soon, we'll go deeper. We'll get into the mechanics of frequency, vibration, and how your thoughts are literally electric signals sending instructions to the quantum field. But before that happens, you have to understand this one thing. You are not broken. You are unfinished. And what's unfinished can still be shaped, still be refined, still be made radiant. We're only beginning to stir the ancient codes buried in your DNA. Stay present, because what's coming next doesn't just explain the rules of reality. It rewrites them. Look around you. Every object, every sound, every movement, it all looks solid, permanent. But at the atomic level, it's vibration, pure frequency. Even the chair you're sitting on is made of energy patterns pretending to be matter. Nothing is truly still. Not your body, not your thoughts, not even time. Now take that in. Your reality is not a thing. It's a state. This is why energy matters more than effort. You've been taught to hustle harder, to grind until your bones ache. But the universe doesn't respond to effort. It responds to frequency. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. The ancient mystics knew this long before quantum physics caught up. They didn't need particle accelerators to understand that the observer changes the observed. They understood it through silence, breath, and intention. They learned to become still enough to feel the pulse of the universe within their own bodies. And then they learned to direct it. This is the second secret of spiritual alchemy. Energy obeys awareness. Your thoughts carry charge. Your emotions add mass. Your focus, the sustained, conscious act of paying attention, is what collapses probability into reality. Not by chance, but by design. Every time you spiral into fear, self-doubt, or resentment, you're not just thinking, you're tuning, broadcasting that signal out into the quantum field and receiving back more of the same. It's not karma. It's mechanics. But flip it, and your life flips too. Gratitude isn't just spiritual fluff. It's a tuning fork. So is desire. So is faith. Not blind faith, but the unshakable knowing that your inner world is the real architect of your future. You don't wait for the world to validate your vision. You generate the frequency of that vision now. You live from the energy of it. You breathe like it's already real. You move like it's already done. And that's when reality bends. Because it has to. When your energy is aligned, you stop reacting to the external. You start commanding it, not from ego, but from coherence. That's why some people walk into a room and shift the whole atmosphere. That's why others seem to manifest effortlessly. They've mastered their internal state, and reality has no choice but to reflect it. This isn't fantasy. It's field dynamics. It's resonance. And it's available to you the moment you stop identifying with the noise in your head and start tuning into the deeper current underneath it all. Your thoughts are not random. Your emotions are not weaknesses. They're levers, signals, switches, and when used with precision, they become tools for transformation. But we're not done yet. There's more to this equation. Because if you want to become a true spiritual alchemist, it's not just about mastering the mind. You'll have to bring the body online. You'll have to awaken the dormant systems designed to circulate this energy through every cell of your being. And when you do that, reality won't just respond. It'll rearrange itself. You've been taught to separate yourself. Mind over here, body over there, spirit somewhere else. Fragmented. Disconnected. But alchemy doesn't work in pieces. It demands integration. Mind, body, and spirit as one single, aligned current. The mind is the architect. It builds the blueprint. Every image you hold, every word you speak, it's laying down the instructions. But a blueprint means nothing if the builder isn't present. That's where the body comes in. The body is the crucible. It holds the charge. It processes the frequency. If your mind is planting seeds, your body is the soil. But if that soil is poisoned by stress, by trauma, by stagnation, nothing can grow. You've probably felt it before. That sluggishness, that tension, that background static that never goes away. That's not just fatigue. That's blocked energy. That's unprocessed emotion stored in muscle, nerve, breath. And until it's moved, you stay stuck in old loops, no matter how much mindset work you do. Now enter the spirit. Not some vague, floaty concept. Spirit is the current, the fire, the source code. It's the part of you that remembers, not in words, but in presence. Spirit is what powers the transformation, but only if mind and body are calibrated to carry the voltage. And this is where most people short circuit. They try to think their way into higher states without grounding it in the body. Or they drown in emotion without ever activating the clarity of the mind. Spiritual alchemy requires all three. Aligned, activated, working together. Breath is the bridge. It's the fastest way to unite the system. Deep, conscious breathing isn't just relaxation. It's ignition. It oxygenates the brain, calms the nervous system, and pulls you out of the reactive animal loop and into sovereign awareness. Movement is the amplifier. Not just exercise, intentional movement. Practices like Qigong, yoga, or even free-form flow. Anything that connects sensation to presence. That gets the energy moving, the circuits open, the current flowing. And stillness is the gateway. True silence, true presence. That's where you meet the architect, the crucible, and the fire all at once. That's where the formulas change. When the triad locks in, something strange begins to happen. Your intuition sharpens. Synchronicities increase. Opportunities appear that feel too perfect to be coincidence. That's not magic. That's alignment. The world is responding to you, not because you're forcing it, but because you've become congruent, coherent, undeniable. This is why ancient initiates spent years preparing their bodies before being given the deeper teachings. Because without this foundation, the energy overloads. You can't hold higher frequency with a nervous system wired for fear and scarcity. But you can rewire. And that rewiring starts now. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start listening to your thoughts, to your breath, to the subtle signals your body sends before your mind even catches up. Because once all three begin speaking the same language, reality can't help but respond. Not in theory, in real time. We're getting closer. The pieces are starting to connect. But next, we go deeper into the tools, the ancient methods that turn energy into action, thought into experience, frequency into form. You felt the shift beginning. Now it's time to learn how to direct it. You don't need more motivation. You need technique. Energy without direction is just noise. Power without form is chaos. That's why the ancient alchemists didn't just talk about transformation. They engineered it. Step by step. Ritual by ritual. Breath by breath. They knew that the mind alone was never enough. You need tools. Real ones. Let's start with the oldest, visualization. Not daydreaming. Not wishful thinking. True visualization is a focused, embodied projection of inner reality. It's not just about seeing a goal. It's about feeling it as already achieved. Smell it. Hear it. Let your body believe it. Because when your nervous system buys in, the quantum field follows. This is how ancient magicians cast spells, not with wands, but with focused intention backed by emotion and embodied presence. They charged their mental images with so much clarity that the external world had no choice but to mirror them. Next, breath work. Every inhale is a key. Every exhale, a release. Controlled breath doesn't just calm the mind. It shifts your entire biofield. It clears stagnation, pulls you out of survival mode, and plugs you back into the current. Breath is your reset button.
A quick message. This space has become something truly special for many of us. A community of people on a shared journey of spiritual growth, healing, and awakening. Your comments and stories inspire me every day, and it's clear there's so much more we can create together, especially since this path can feel lonely at times. That's why we've created a spiritual space on Patreon, a sanctuary for deeper connection, exclusive content, and meaningful conversations with others from this channel who share your journey. Together, we can build something uplifting, authentic, and spiritually powerful. If this resonates with you and you'd like to be part of something bigger, whatever you're going through, you'll find the link in the description or pinned in the comments. Your membership not only helps support the channel, but also helps grow this beautiful community. Let's create something amazing together.
Your ignition switch. Try holding your breath after a long exhale. Feel the stillness. That silence between beats, that's where the gate opens. And then there's ritual. We've been conditioned to think ritual is superstition. But ritual is focus, crystallized. It's how you program the subconscious. Light a candle every time you begin your creative work. Clean your space before meditation. Speak aloud your intentions every morning. These aren't silly habits, they're anchors. They signal your system to shift state. Symbols matter too. A circle isn't just a shape, it's wholeness. A triangle isn't just geometry, it's transformation. Ancient alchemists embedded their understanding of the universe into symbols because they knew symbols bypass language. They speak directly to the deeper mind. You want to activate your energy, choose a symbol, a gesture, a word. Make it sacred through repetition. You're not faking anything. You're tuning, programming your field. And over time, your reality starts to reflect it. But here's the deeper truth. None of these tools work if you're just going through the motions. The power comes from presence, from actually showing up fully. No split focus, no distractions. This is where most people fall off. They dabble. They consume knowledge but never embody it. They want change without process. But real spiritual alchemy demands participation. You can't outsource this. You want to turn your energy into reality, then you need to start living like your energy matters. Because it does. The universe isn't ignoring you. It's responding to the signals you've been sending, consciously or unconsciously. And now you know how to change the signal. Visualization, breathwork, ritual, symbols. Every one of these tools is a frequency shifter, a pattern breaker, a force multiplier. Not because they're magic, but because you are. And we're not done. There's still a force you must face if you want to rise. Something that doesn't want to be seen. But once it is, nothing stays the same. We're about to go there. Into the shadow. The part most people avoid. But the alchemist goes straight in. It's hiding behind your routines. Behind your smiles, your spiritual talk, your best intentions. The shadow. The part of you that you've buried, denied, shamed into silence. The wound you never wanted to look at. The fear you disguised as ambition. The pain you called personality. It's been shaping your reality the entire time, and not in the background, but from the driver's seat. You can't transmute what you won't confront. And every true alchemist knows, the gold you seek is buried in the darkness you avoid. That's why every genuine transformation begins with descent. Before you rise, you fall. You look directly at the parts of yourself that don't want to be seen. The envy, the rage, the need for control, the fear of being forgotten. These aren't flaws. They're fuel. But only if you stop pretending they're not there. Most people never get this far. They build altars, recite mantras, chase peak states, but underneath, they're still hiding from themselves. They think spirituality means light. It doesn't. It means truth. And truth doesn't care about your comfort. There's a reason initiates in ancient schools had to undergo trials before they were trusted with higher teachings. The trials weren't punishment. They were purification. Fire burns away the false. What's left is real, untouchable. So how do you face the shadow? Start by noticing your triggers. What makes you angry, jealous, defensive? Those are portals. Each one is a message from the part of you you've abandoned. And until you bring that part home, it will continue running the show from the basement. Next, observe your patterns. The relationships that feel like deja vu. The goals that always collapse right before success. The habits you can't seem to break. These aren't accidents. They're echoes. Loops. And the loop ends the moment you face what created it. Not by judging it, but by understanding it. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's transmutation. Not just forgiving others, but yourself. For what you did when you didn't know better. For how long you believed you weren't enough. For how often you betrayed yourself just to feel safe. The shadow is your teacher. It shows you where your energy leaks. Where you gave away your power. And once you see it, you can reclaim it. Not to be perfect, but to be whole. This is where the real alchemy begins. When you realize that every scar was a code, every breakdown, a blueprint, every loss, a clearing, you burn away the illusion. And in the ash, something starts to emerge. Not an idea, not a belief, a presence. Yours. And when that presence takes hold, when your shadow is no longer running from the light but standing inside it, you become untouchable. Because nothing can be used against you when nothing is hidden. Soon, we'll talk about what happens when that integrated energy meets intention. When the clean vessel starts to broadcast a frequency that reality can't ignore. But for now, feel this. You are not broken. You are becoming. And what's coming next is power. You've done the excavation. You've pulled your shadow into the light, seen your patterns for what they are, and burned the old scaffolding to the ground. So what now? Now, you build. This is where spiritual alchemy becomes practical, tactical, real. Because awareness without embodiment is just philosophy. And you weren't meant to just understand this. You were meant to live it. Turning energy into reality means stepping into energetic authorship. You are no longer reacting to life. You are transmitting it. Every thought, every word, every action is a signal. And now that the interference has been cleared, those signals hit harder. They ripple out cleaner. They reshape your field. Here's the truth. You've always been manifesting. Even in confusion. Even in pain. But now you're conscious of it. Now you get to choose. And choice is the gateway to power. So how do you live like an alchemist? First, alignment. If your actions, words, and values aren't moving in the same direction, your signal fractures. You confuse the field. So you simplify. You speak what you mean. You do what you believe. You stop performing and start broadcasting. Second, ritualize consistency. This isn't about being robotic. It's about training your field to hold a frequency long enough for reality to catch up. Whether it's journaling with intention, meditating daily, or repeating specific mantras charged with energy, repetition turns belief into embodiment. Third, energetic hygiene. You protect your field. That means boundaries, real ones. Not just with people, but with thoughts, habits, distractions. Not everything gets access to your space. Not every emotion gets to take the wheel. You stop leaking power through gossip, comparison, self-sabotage. You start honoring your energy like it's sacred. Because it is. And then comes the transmission. When your entire system, mind, body, and spirit moves in coherence, your desires aren't desperate. They're declarations. You don't hope reality listens. You know it does. You walk differently. You speak with charge. You enter a room and shift the geometry of it. Not because you're louder, but because your presence is no longer scattered. It's focused, magnetic. And that magnetism, it pulls. Opportunities, people, resources. Not out of thin air, but out of the field of infinite potential you are now actively tuning. People will say you're lucky. But this isn't luck. It's alignment. It's physics. You're no longer waiting for signs. You're becoming one. You're no longer seeking truth. You're living it. And the more you embody this way of being, the more the world reflects it back. A mirror dance. A feedback loop of clarity and manifestation. But we're not done. There's one final layer. One ancient mystery modern minds still haven't fully cracked. You've shaped the internal. You've shifted the external. Now it's time to ask, what was all this for? That answer is the stone. What are you really chasing? Strip away the money, the validation, the visions of success. Not acquiring, not manifesting, becoming. The philosopher's stone was never a rock. It was never a thing you could hold. It was a state of being, the ultimate distillation of energy, awareness, and identity, crystallized into one singular presence, the self that no longer seeks. Because it is. That's the hidden joke of the alchemical journey. The treasure you've been chasing was never outside you. It was buried under the noise, the programming, the pretending. And every ritual, every breath, every confrontation with the shadow was just a process of stripping away what you were never meant to carry, until only essence remains. The stone isn't a reward. It's what's left when the fire has burned everything false. It's what happens when your mind stops negotiating with fear, when your body becomes a clear channel, when your spirit doesn't ask for permission to exist. You become unshakable. Not because nothing can touch you, but because nothing owns you. And in that state, you don't chase purpose. You radiate it. You don't try to heal others. Your presence heals. You don't perform power. You are power. This is the frequency of completion, of wholeness. And ironically, it's when you no longer need reality to bend that it bends the fastest. Not out of control, but out of resonance. Out of recognition. The universe sees the stone and responds. So now ask yourself, what would it look like if you stopped pretending to be becoming? What if this, right now, is the moment you drop the mask, step out of the loop, and stand in the field as the thing itself? Because you've done the work. You've faced the furnace, rewired your system, spoken the command, and remembered the code. And what comes next is the living of it. Not seeking magic. Being it. And for those still watching, there's something you've probably felt since the beginning of this journey. A current under the words. A thread pulling you forward. That's your own energy. Waking up. Keep going. Because now, you don't need the map. You are the stone. You feel it, don't you? That stillness. That charge. Like something ancient just clicked into place inside you. Not as a belief, but as a knowing. Quiet. Unshakable. Real. You don't need convincing anymore. You've seen too much. Because once you experience spiritual alchemy, once you become it, there's no going back. You can't know what you now feel pulsing through your system, that you are not a passive observer in this world. You are the source code. You are the signal. You are the storm. And now, the game is different. Reality starts to stretch around your frequency. Conversations shift. Time bends. The right people appear. The wrong ones fall away. Your environment begins to contour itself around your state, not because of effort, but because of inevitability. This is coherence. This is congruence. And now you see it everywhere. The way certain people light up a room without saying a word. The way nature synchronizes with itself. The way your best moments, the ones that felt divine, were never manufactured. They were allowed. You weren't thinking. You were tuned in. That's the new baseline. Not a high to chase, but a home to return to. And it doesn't mean you won't be tested. You will. That's part of the agreement. The fire doesn't stop just because you remembered who you are. But now you welcome it. Because the fire isn't the enemy. It's the refiner. And you're no longer afraid of what it might take away. You're focused on what it reveals. What you've always been. A transmitter. A transmuter. A bridge between the invisible and the visible. You. And as we end this transmission, feel what's shifted. Not just in your thoughts, but in your field. Something subtle, but undeniable. A deeper stillness. A deeper charge. You've heard the words, felt the current. You've been handed the ancient tools that were never lost, just hidden behind noise and distraction. Now it's yours. Not as information, as activation. Because everything you need is already inside you. And now you remember,